Your team will need to be strong, as will their resolve. There's no looking back. The same goes for you. Can I assume you've put your past relationships behind you?
None of your damn business.
If it affects the mission...
Hey everyone, it's me, Ryan. If you've been following me at all, I would ask you to stop. You shouldn't be following me around anywhere. It's weird and you need to stop. If you've been following me on YouTube, I appreciate it. And also you would know or suspect that I have an intense love for Mass Effect. So obviously when the Legendary Edition was announced and subsequently launched, I was thrilled. I just finished a full playthrough of Mass Effect 2, DLC and all. And I couldn't help but note how masterful the ending of Mass Effect 2 is to this day. It takes all of your choices into account throughout the endgame. Well, maybe not all of them, but a decent amount where when that trophy or achievement pops at the end, you really feel like you built your team to the best of their ability. Now sure, I can acknowledge there are other games that probably and or do have more diverging and branching paths that do just as well, if not better than Mass Effect, but on the scale of Mass Effect and its apparent ambition to tell its story over 3 games while factoring in all, if not most, of the player's choices, it makes Mass Effect 2's ending in particular one that has remained firmly imprinted in my mind. Now while the game is over 10 years old, if you want to avoid spoilers, I do suggest leaving now and maybe coming back later if you want to. I'm going to be spoiling parts of Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. Also, subscribe if you like the content and lets me do more stuff like this, like talking into a microphone and trying to make you love me. Let's start at the beginning. Mass Effect 2 sees Shepard scouring the galaxy to recruit the best of the best in what has been said to be a suicide mission from the get-go. Fun for everyone. The burden you have as Commander Shepard in Mass Effect 2 is preparing your squad for this mission, upgrading the Normandy, your equipment, making sure your squad's heads are straight, and loyal to the mission above all before you head through the Omega-4 relay. After all, BioWare was pretty clear all those years ago before the launch of Mass Effect 2. They even heavily leaned into it in the marketing as well.
Humans are disappearing. That can't happen. Now, the fate of humanity lies in the hands of an assassin. A savage. A loyalist. A psychopath. They don't expect us to survive, but that never stopped me before.
Assemble your team. Fight for the lost. Rated M for mature.
The final mission can end in a bloodbath if you're not prepared, where all of your squad mates, including Shepard, can die. That might seem a tad harsh, and maybe in some ways it can be to the casual fan who doesn't have the patience to investigate every nook and cranny of Mass Effect 2 and all of its missions, especially considering if Shepard dies at the end of 2, no save can be imported into Mass Effect 3. So that ending is more of a what-if type of thing, but regardless, you should watch it here on YouTube somewhere if you want, because even if it's a what-if ending, it's still incredibly powerful and moving. But that aside, the requirements for total success are not as difficult as it seems on the surface, and I'll get into why in a bit. Right away, as soon as the game opens, Commander Shepard is killed in action, in a scene that sets up the stakes of Mass Effect 2 perfectly within minutes of you starting the game. Yeah, you get them back pretty quickly and are in the role of Shepard, but this is to show you that Mass Effect 2 is not here to screw around. You quickly are set on your mission to stop the Collectors from abducting humans, with the ultimate task of traveling through the Omega-4 relay to bring the fight to them. Many of the characters, including Miranda, Jacob, and the Elusive Man, constantly tell you that you need to prepare the team and the ship for the final mission. You can even ask Jacob directly a few times what he thinks of the crew's chances, and he will tell you pretty bluntly that there's a lot of distractions amongst the crew with personal issues and the like. This brings us to one of the points you need to hit to have all of your squad survive Mass Effect 2's ending. So you'll need to be talking to all of your squad members throughout the game and see what upgrade ideas they have for the Normandy or for themselves possibly. The most important of which being upgrading the Normandy's shields, hull, and weaponry. Because yes, there is a suicide mission itself, but on approach to the Collector base, the Normandy will be attacked from all sides, and without very important upgrades, you don't have a chance in hell of having your full crew ready to execute the mission, as some of them will not make it. And again, it's a choice you can make throughout that most returning and new players will likely do. It's not deceptively hidden or morally obscure in any way. Talk to your crew, get to know them maybe, but most of all, ask them about them upgrades. That's the first choice you'll make to get Mass Effect 2's best outcome of an ending.
How do you like that, you sons of bitches!
Get in close and finish him off.
Sure, that's not the most obscure of choices you'll make, but upgrading your ship is critically important. The next thing you'll need to take into account is squad loyalty. Mass Effect 2's main narrative is much more straightforward than Mass Effect 1's and even Mass Effect 3's, at least in structure, but it makes up for that by having such a focused, character-driven narrative. The bulk of Mass Effect 2 is spent doing loyalty missions or missions that require you to help your various team members with their personal issues to make sure their heads are clear for the suicide mission. A lot of them, like Jacob's or Miranda's loyalty missions, don't have much writing on them that would make you unable to gain their loyalty by mission's end, no matter what you choose. But it's a little more complicated when you do like Tali's or Zaid's or even Samara's. This will depend on your morality, whether you have a high enough Paragon or Renegade, which affords you the red and blue charm or intimidate options, or intimidate and charm options. That will depend on whether you can have a successful outcome depending on your choices in some instances. For example, Tali's loyalty mission famously has multiple outcomes depending on your choices from the beginning of the game to when you recruit her. Tali's father was reactivating Geth via inactive Geth parts Tali was sending him, which she thought was for research, and thus she is being charged with treason. When you get back to the trial with the admirals with the evidence you have multiple ways of completing this mission. You can use one of the charm or intimidate options, which then has Shepard promptly tell the admirals aboard the migrant fleet to go to hell. You can keep the evidence hidden, which results in Tali being exiled, but her remaining loyal to Shepard and the mission. You can also turn in the evidence, which results in her exile and her not being loyal, which can hurt her chances of surviving the suicide mission. But there's a fifth option, and also my favorite, wherein if you allow Vitor in the beginning of Mass Effect 2 to go back to the migrant fleet with the other Quarians, and Cal Rieger survives the mission, and on Haestrom, if you tell him to stand down when he tries to play hero, you can rally the crowd against the Admiralty board, in which case they exonerate Tali and her loyalty to Shepard remains intact. Or Samara's loyalty mission, which involves you having to track down her daughter Morinth, who is an Ardak Yakchi, which is basically her being a vicious sexual killer. Nice.
Look into my eyes and tell me you want me. Tell me you'd kill for me. Anything I want.
If you get to the final scene of this mission, you'll either get the loyalty of Samara or her daughter Morinth if you choose to kill Samara. In that, it's not dependent upon your morality, but throughout the player will have to pay close attention when following Morinth and investigating her and trying to get her attention. Doing so determines if she'll even invite you back to her place by the end of the conversation, as Morinth will easily get tired or bored and leave, which results in her hiding and then Samara losing her chance to find her and stop her, which voids any chance you have of gaining her loyalty.
Hey,
Hey!
wanna dance? Watch this.
No thanks. I'm happy with just me and the music.
Zaid's loyalty mission has you going to find the leader of the Blue Suns, who betrayed Zaid after they found the Blue Suns together. Zaid wants to kill him. Zaid in the mission goes nuts and destroys the refinery. A Paragon Shepard will insist upon saving the refinery to minimize casualties, but it results in his rival, Vito, getting away. If you choose this path, the only way you can bring Zaid back and earn his loyalty will to have enough Paragon or Renegade to convince him to get over his revenge plans for the time being and focus on the mission. Also, I apologize if there is no video for Zaid's loyalty mission. My capture software has decidedly gained sentience and refused to record at times in protest. I don't know what it's protesting, but I guess I can't be too mad at it for standing up for what it believes in. Those are just a few of the ways a loyalty mission can determine the outcome of the ending. Gaining loyalty is not too hard in my experience. The only thing that kind of makes it annoying is Mass Effect 2's insistence on using the morality meter as a way of gauging if you can use charm or intimidate. As I explained with Zaid's mission in particular, it means you'll likely want to put off some of the missions until your morality is as high as it can be one way or the other. Though there's not too many that demand it, it's good to have either way. The other thing that makes it kind of a pain at the same time, part of the fun, is once you gain the loyalty of some of your squad, namely for example Miranda and Jack, they have a bit of a fight in which you'll have to use either charm or intimidate to convince them both to stand down and knock it off, or you can take one of their sides, which loses the one side that you didn't take, loyalty. However, you do have the option of apologizing to Jack or Miranda later depending on which side you took and thus regain their loyalty. Something similar happens with Legion and Tali after you gain both of their loyalties. Point being, loyalty is super important in Mass Effect 2 and it automatically raises the survival rate of the various squad members. So whatever you do, go into each loyalty mission and make sure you earn their loyalty. If you don't, it will have consequences consequences. It also means rushing into the final mission without your squad's loyalty cemented could have dire consequences, especially going into Mass Effect 3. For example, if Grunt survives Mass Effect 2, in Mass Effect 3 he can die when saving Shepard from the Rachni that were altered by the Reapers. Or if Kasumi wasn't loyal in Mass Effect 2 and survives, a small side quest in Mass Effect 3 has you run into her, and by the mission's end, she stops a computer virus from shutting down the defenses of the Hanar homeworld, which causes an explosion. If you help her in Mass Effect 2, she reveals herself to be alive and helps with the war effort. If not, she doesn't reveal herself to be alive and doesn't help. Acquiring your team's loyalty has even more far-reaching consequences beyond the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. And sure, I acknowledge loyalty is not super hard to achieve with your squad in a lot of instances, but the important thing is to just do those damn loyalty missions, because they're critically important to not just the ending of 2, but the consequences of not having it in 3 should parts of your team survive. Eurogamer's Tom Phillips has an article from last year going into detail on surviving the suicide mission, which I bring up very specifically because a flowchart is included in the article which explains pretty much everything that I am going over in this video. But the point of this video is to explain how all of these choices factor into the ending, and also to not seemingly intimidate you into think it's this insurmountable task by giving you all these numbers and variables. Also, a thing I missed the first time is that right before the final mission, the crew of the Normandy is abducted, and if you do any more than one mission afterwards, half the crew dies. If you do more than 3, the entire crew except Dr. Chakwas dies. This won't affect your squad's survivability, but it again raises the stakes of what is already going to be a tense mission. It also provides you with this incredibly heartbreaking, touching, but brief dialogue where you approach Dr. Chakwas after rescuing her and the crew, and she says that you and Joker came for the crew so quickly, and she's never had truer friends. Which, look, I'm gonna be honest, I have played Mass Effect 2 plenty of times over the years, but this last time, it really hit me.
The Collectors took my people. Time to go get them back.
Shepard, you came for us.
No one gets left behind.
The final choices you will make after that factor into the ending, whether it is loyalty or upgrading the Normandy, is who you send to do various tasks during the suicide missions. What I like about this is that it gives each of the members of the team a chance to shine, a chance for them to prove why they're the best of the best. You'll need a tech expert, which must be Tali, Legion, or Kasumi, and they need to be loyal, or they might die. On top of that, for the second team, you'll need to put in charge Jacob, Miranda, or Garrus, and they also need to be loyal, otherwise the tech expert dies. Then comes the long walk, where you'll need to have a biotic specialist have a biotic field over the team as they cross a long winding hallway. Again, the obvious choices are Samara, Morinth, or Jack, and they'll all need to be loyal, or one of your team members will die. Or pick someone else and people die. I told you, there's lots of death here. It's fun for everyone. Also, who's leading your second fire team? It needs to be Miranda, Jacob, or Garrus, and then they must be loyal. Otherwise, you guessed it, the motherfucker dies. And of course, you gotta save your crew, or what's left of them, should you just not care about the value of human life. I'm kidding. Not really. You will need to send an escort with them to make sure that they survive. You can pick whoever as long as they're loyal, it doesn't matter. Most people, including me, go with Mordin because allegedly he has the lowest survivability rating of all of your team even with loyalty. At least that's what they say, and I'm superstitious, so I choose him out of fear he will die. But I don't have any proof of that, so don't take my word for it. Finally, you will head into the final fight with the Space Terminator. Your team must be loyal, otherwise one, if not both, will die. And if just one of them dies, so does Shepard. And there goes Mass Effect 3, eh? The ones holding the line must all be loyal, or the chances of them not making it is greatly increased. Finally, regardless of your choices at the end, you either survive the suicide mission with no casualties, survive with minimal casualties, or lose everyone. In this, I can't even begin to express to you the sheer joy I felt in my heart when I first completed this mission years ago on my Xbox 360, only for everyone to have survived and clapped and cheered with the most happiness and glee I have ever experienced in my whole life. Saying that out loud sounds very sad, but it's true.
Detonation in 10, 9, 8.
Yeah, I get the gist of it, Edie. Hold
Mass
on.
Effect 2's ending is masterful because it accounts for all these variables going into the suicide mission, and even beyond the suicide mission, it means if you wanted to, and you knew the variables enough, you could create very interesting role-playing scenarios for yourself going into Mass Effect 3 by purposely creating a scenario where some of your squad doesn't make it. Obviously, that sounds kind of monstrous to metagame like that, and out of context, it does sound pretty bad, but in a sense it shows you how incredibly deep and complex you can make your journey upon replays. And again, the fact that Mass Effect 2 accounts for all of these variables and choices in and out of loyalty missions means it has real stakes for the player. Granted, you could argue Mass Effect 3 expands upon this in a lot of the story missions, and I definitely want to discuss a lot of that in another video, but Mass Effect 3 goes to painstaking efforts to account for the player's choices over the course of the series, except for the ending, of course. But Mass Effect 2 manages to capture all this by its end in a much more succinct way. And while it's not super unattainable and difficult, it is a reminder of BioWare on their absolute A game with an incredible ending that still creeps and crawls through my brain to this day.
Yeah, I get the gist of it, Edie. Hold on.
Anyway folks, I really hope you enjoyed the video and the discussion. I of course want to hear from you. What game's ending do you remember the most fondly? Be kind to avoid spoilers or specifics if it's more recent title, and what is your favorite Mass Effect moment? Let me know below. As always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, if not a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all soon. I love you all, maybe.